Thanks everybody. I was quite excited when I arrived because I saw the number of the building and it was like a nightclub, and I thought I was walking into a dungeon or something. It just lifted me up anyway. Thanks for inviting me and stalking me the last 4 months. It's really uncomfortable, but I wanted to be hello. Sorry.
It's all for the cause.
Yeah, whatever. I'm privileged to be here today, having read a little bit of Chris's story and to talk about a little bit of my story. Ironically, a year and a half ago, I wouldn't have been able to come into this room and talk about the story, even though I admitted my story, due to a cloud of shame that hung above my head, the same shame that has hung above my head for most of my life. I was sexually abused as a child by a number of people. I was physically abused both at school and in the house, and I was mentally abused within my home. Bizarrely, when I started to talk about this in much therapy, I sort of look on my therapist's face sometimes and I would think, why are you looking at me like that? Because I found it quite normal. I didn't think there was anything that shocking about it. And some of the abuse that I went through, I didn't actually find it that shocking because I had lived that abuse and it was a normality to me. But I knew it was wrong and it defined my whole life. I suppose the saddest thing about it all is there was no choice for me. I didn't have any choice in what was happening. I thought I was bad. I thought I was worthless. I thought I was a useless piece of shit my father told me I was. I thought I was a nothing to everybody and a nobody to anyone. That's what I thought I was. And I lived that life right up until a year and a half ago. That's the person I thought I was. The one person I hated more than anyone else in this world was not my abusers, was not my family, was not anyone else apart from myself. I hated me. I thought I was to blame. I thought it was my fault. I thought it was my fault I did those things that I did. And it wasn't until a year and a half ago that I realised a little glimmer of light poked up in my horizon and said, it wasn't your fault. And I asked for some help. And there's lots that goes on. If you wanted to hear my story, we'd probably still be here next Saturday. But it's, and really, we know what's great, we're in a room full of survivors trying to change the world and no one could turn the frigging air conditioning on. It was amazing, really. The simple, it was just a button you had to press. I asked for some help, and the reason I asked for some help is I was left with a choice in my life, and that choice was to live or to die. I was surrounded with drugs and alcohol, and I was in a pretty low place. On 2 occasions, I stood at railway platforms considering jumping off, and it was a real and present feeling. It was absolutely going to happen. I was going to end my life, and I've got a little girl and a wife, and I wanted to end it all because I couldn't live with the shame. I couldn't live with it. I laid in a hotel room one night, contemplating slashing my wrists. And on the outside, I was the funny guy who worked on The X Factor and Britain's Got Talent and worked with One Direction and Piers Morgan and all the big stars that I worked with. I was this happy, bit of a boozer, piss-taking bloke who'd walk into a room and everyone kind of got on with. But I was dying inside, absolutely dying. I didn't think anyone loved me, I didn't think anyone liked me. I would try and make people like me and would go to extreme lengths to make them like me. But I didn't know who I was. I had no idea who this person was inside my body. I decided to go to the doctors and ask for help, and I went to, you know what GPs are like in like little surgeries? They very rarely look up from their computers, do they? They say you have a cold, and they say a cold, and they say yes, you have some paracetamol, and then you leave, and they don't even look at you. So with my GP, this lady, I didn't go to see my GP, I saw, because you never get to see the one you're registered with, right? I don't even know who he is. And I don't actually think he exists. So I sat down with a lady and I spilt my story out. And what was it's funny now in hindsight, because it's my story, so I can make it funny, is as she was typing and I was spelling out some of the abuse, the tapping was getting harder. And she actually looked up at me. She went, and then down again, and I was actually overjoyed that she looked at me. That for me was a big, on hindsight looking back, that was quite a big thing. I had a GP look at me. I think we got a GP in, sorry, I'm sure you looked at your pages. That was, for me, a pinnacle turning point, and the reason it was a pinnacle turning point, because one thing happened, I asked for help. I didn't do it for anybody else. I didn't do it for my wife because she told me. I didn't do it for my friends because they told me. I didn't do it for anybody. I did it for me, and I knew I was at a turning point, and I had to ask for help or I was going to die. That's the bottom line. Thankfully, I had private healthcare, and within 5 days I was in a private psychiatric unit, and I started to open up. And as a result of that, lots of emotions came out, and the biggest emotion came see, the problem is with me, I don't think about too much. You know, I just do things because I think it feels right sometimes, so I just go and do it. I live on instinct. I've learned in therapy that my instincts are amazing. They are absolutely amazing. I can spot and sense something not right very, very quickly, because I lived in an environment as a child where I knew things weren't right. I understand. I get it. And so I decided that I would announce my abuse on my Twitter feed to 50,000 people. Now, that comes with some downside. At the time, and when I wrote it with every good intention that I wanted to help other people and inspire other people to come forward. The problem was I wasn't really in the right mental state to be helping anybody. I was struggling helping myself. But I did it, much to my therapist's absolute shock. But we worked through it, and I'm glad I did it, and I'll tell you why I'm glad I did it. I was told to stay quiet my whole life. I was told to shut up and not say anything. I was told that if I did say anything, the worst things in my world would happen. That was what was drummed into me. That was my bottom line. That was my working point. That I was wrong. That no one would believe you. And if you did tell people, everyone would ridicule you. My dad would call me a queer, a nothing, a puff. I'm straight, by the way. I've tried, but I didn't like it. Unless it's on camera, I think, what am I thinking? And, but the point is, I put it out there, and then my recovery began. And I'm glad I put it out there because I had to do it. I had to then recover. I spent a lot of time in therapy. I've got therapists in here. I'm not going to go over my therapy. It's pretty standard therapy, I'm sure. But I'd started to grow, and I started to, interestingly, find Ian. You talk. She's gone. Jenny's gone. I found finding me, and I began to realise I am someone special. I do have a story. I do have a message, and I'm sorry if my abuse upsets anybody. If they're uncomfortable being around a man whose liberty was taken as a young child, then I don't want them in my company anyway. Yeah. That's the truth. I don't, because they're so shallow they'd probably drown in a puddle. You know what? I don't want them in my life. So as I began to grow, I started to, I remember my therapist saying to me, "What do you like doing?" And I stared at her and I went, "I don't know. I have not a clue. It used to be like endless hours of pornography. I don't know what I like to do. I don't. I used to sit in darkened rooms with the curtains drawn, peeking out of the window, scrawled up on a bed, wanting to die. That's what I like to do." And the most amazing thing for me, and the most passionate thing for me is I started to do things. I thought, what can I do? I'll go on a charity walk. That's what I'll do for the NSPCC, who are amazing, by the way. And you know what? I said to myself, I'm going to go on a charity walk. I'm going to do a 100-kilometre charity walk. And I didn't train for it, because I don't do training. So I got my trainers and my things, and I left central London and headed to Brighton, which I thought I would do in 24 hours. I didn't take a torch with me. I didn't think I'd need a torch. I thought I'd walk on the road and we would go through woods. So I did half of it in utter darkness, and I completed it. And it was the proudest moment of my life, because I did something for me. I turned around to my abusers and said, "You know what? I'm not nothing. I am somebody." And that was the day I started to grow fully. Now, since then, I've become it's a bit of a nightmare. You can't really be in my company, because I've just come up with ideas and go, I'm going to go and do this. I was reading the Stephen Sutton story on Twitter, the tragic story, but inspiring man that he was. And I decided to grab my bicycle and go to Edinburgh and cycle to London on my own with nobody. I just went and did it. And I finished, and I did it. I did it on my own. And I didn't need. And here's the point. I'm not saying this to big myself up, but there's a point to this. I didn't need anyone telling me how to do it, when I should do it, could I do it, you won't do it. I just went and did it. And that's the changing point in my life. You know what? As a result of talking about it on Twitter and taking on challenges, I can't help anyone who's been abused. I'm not professional. I cannot sit someone down and tell them what to do. And I truly believe that, because I think that could be more damaging to some people actually. But what I can do is I can say, this is what happens. This is what you can be. This is the life you can lead. And it's kind of a shame that people didn't see me before. You know, I can't show them pictures of that, but I can, you know, on my Twitter's been a pretty emotional roller coaster for those that follow me, will understand the person I was and the person that I am now. I'm not owned by anyone today. Not at all. When I talked about my abuse, I lost my whole family. Every single one of them. Every one of them. But I got my kids back. I got my daughter back, and she lived through some of that trauma. Because when you're a man coming up and standing up, or a woman standing up about abuse, you're in a pretty vulnerable place. And I was full of anger. I was, you know, every single emotion, I was full of it. And that got displayed in many different ways in my house. There was no violence, but it was a pretty tragic thing for a 9-year-old then to be living with. But I got my daughter's trust back. And that's been the most empowering thing for me. She trusts her dad again. And if I say I'm going to go and do something, I do it. And if I tell you something, I'm not lying. And if I make a promise, I'm going to fulfill it. And that's as all the result is I've turned away and put my back on that person I used to be. And I'm going to finish on this, because I know you're waiting to get on the other side of fear is the greatest happiness you will ever feel. But you've got to walk through the fear. And I did it on my own. I had my therapist and I had a place I went, but when I left that hour therapy session or came out of a day at the Priory, I was on my own. And I picked up the tools that were given to me and I used them with the same vigour and the same passion and the same commitment I did lying in a hotel room on the floor, crawled up in a ball. I use the same energies, but in a more positive way. Anything is possible. I'm climbing my mountain now, and every now and then I stop and I get a new view and I look at it and go, this is brilliant. But I don't stop, I climb again. And I keep climbing and I keep climbing. I am a survivor. I can't change what happened to me. No one can. I cannot change what happened to me. What I have done is close the door on it, thrown the key away. And people say to me, someone said to me the other day actually at a party, I got really angry. I didn't get angry actually, I just got more motivated. You see, people put me down now, I just get more motivated to do stuff. And this person said to my wife, she said, he's going back downhill again. He's on crash and burn. And I didn't get angry about it actually, I turned and I said, you know what, I'm not on crash and burn, I'm not going back to that place, because I don't know the way back. I do not know the way back. Thank you for listening to me. I'm sorry I couldn't spend the whole day with you. I had dance class, which I like to go to, and now I'm going to shoot off and watch Liverpool play. So, but thank you so much indeed. And I could do questions.
Thank you.
It's all right.
I didn't know Royce's story, but again, I had that gut instinct to chase the man down.
Yeah.
I just did. I just knew we had something in common, but I didn't know his full story. Thank you.
That's all right.
That's all I
I
can
can do
say.
some
really.
questions if you want to do it.
Anyone got questions?
You want to know what my makeup routine is?
How do you get over the fear?
How do you get over the fear?
Because that's the problem I'm having at the moment.
You have to embrace it.
You know, to be
What's the worst possible thing that could happen to you? No, for me.
being afraid.
There's anything that you can take.
But the only person who can make you fail is you. No, the only person who's in charge of your fear is you. So again, I'm not medically trained or something, but for me, you do little steps. You know how I changed? My first thing I did different. I started doing things differently. I used to always put my right sock on first, then my left. So I made a conscious decision in my life. I was going to change that. Put my left sock on, then my right sock. And through then it just grows a little bit, and you think, you know, what am I going to do today differently? You know what, this morning I'm not going to wake up and have 4 coffees, I'm going to have 2 waters and 2 coffees. And then just do it slowly, just be really gentle with yourself, very small little steps, and then the steps get a little bit bigger, and suddenly the fear starts to disappear, but start with your smallest fear, and work. Don't look at the big stuff, too big to look at, go to the little stuff.
Just remember, you would have been for the worst. So,
If Royce didn't take the next step, he wouldn't be here standing. If I didn't take the next step and write my book, my sister wouldn't be getting the help she needed. This wouldn't have happened. So we're all fearful, but it's just, what is the bigger picture for you? My bigger picture is to get us help. Yeah. So what is your bigger picture? It doesn't have to be that big, but what is your bigger picture for tomorrow? As Royce said, is it you're drinking 5 coffees? Is that damaging you? Cut it down. Or it could be you want to go and do a dance class. It could be anything. Just empower yourself by doing something different to what you're doing now, because what you're doing now is keeping you where you are. Yeah, you don't want to stay here because you're not happy. So what are you going to do to change what you're doing to make yourself happier?
Yeah, but don't leave.
Yeah.
Don't leave. No, don't leave to make yourself happier.
Questions? I saw someone else.
Hello.
Hi, I've come from a family with a bipolar dad who was very violent, and it's affected all of us. I've got brothers who are 9 or 10 years older than me, and I know it's so difficult for men a lot of the time to open up. My brother's still hurting now, we all are, but I'm learning to kind of deal with it and seek help. He knows he's got problems, but he doesn't want to open up about them. So what would you say as a man that's gone through that journey and learned to start healing himself? What would you say to help, how can I help my brother?
Well, you can't, that's the bottom line. The only person who help your brother is your brother. You can't do someone else's recovery for them or look after somebody else's life. What you can do, however, if I make a suggestion, is become a beacon for him. And by you getting well and getting better and improving your life, he may see some things in you that he finds attractive and wants to have a part of. And that's the only way you can shine that beacon. And that's the honest truth. You can't do his recovery for him. Sorry. I'd like to be able to say you could, but you can't.
You can't. Anyone else?
Hi.
Have your friends changed since you?
Yeah, very much so. People get quite uncomfortable about you talking about it. And my closest friend is still there. I have some friends around me. You know what? I don't talk about it all the time on Twitter. I don't, because I need to protect myself as well. And let me tell you something. This is really important to know. There are a lot of people who are abusers, a lot. And there's a lot of people in very high power positions who are abusers. So when you stand up, the first thing you'll feel is very, very vulnerable. And you'll also feel very vulnerable because you don't know who they are. Right. So for me, to come and talk here for me is quite a big thing, because I don't like people know what happened. I want to talk about the person I am today, what I'm doing with my life today. I don't need to keep going back and revisiting that. People get very uncomfortable talking about, especially in front of it, because if you're having a conversation with someone, they then now know you're abused. And I don't want to be a victim, I want to be a survivor. I want to say, this is what you can do with your life. And that's the message I try and carry, rather than the what happened. It's the what's happening now, not what happened then, for me.
No, it's good what happened.
Anyone else? Well, we've got him, because we probably won't see him for another 5 years. No? You all happy?
One more question. Is it true that you've got 697,000 followers?
I couldn't possibly tell you. I have no idea. I got 68, I think. Brilliant. Thank you. Yeah. This is quite embarrassing because when I opened Twitter, I made myself. My name's Royce, but I put official Royce. I had 8 followers, and I called myself official. So it's official. OFFICIAL Royce ROYCEY.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
coming. Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you.